Hey guys, how you going? This is Khavrion. Today we're going to have another battle report for infiNity. This game is going to be Steel Phalanx, played by me, versus the Neo-Terran Capitoline Army, played by Leomaris, in a game of Unmasking. Now, the actual game was played as part of Vaulsc's third Tabletop Simulator infiNity tournament, which was months ago, but I saved the game at the end of each player turn, and my intent was to use those to make a battle report, and that's what we're going to be using them for today. Before I get into this, I want to bring up one important feature of Vaulsc tournaments, which is that you tend to have access to the map and the mission and your opponent before you make your list. The reason for this is pretty straightforward. Tournaments run over 5 weeks when you're playing online, and if you make 2 lists in normal ITS fashion, by the end of those 5 weeks you can get really, really sick of the mistakes that you made when creating your lists, 5 weeks ago. The practical impact on the game, though, is that some of the choices that I made were specifically done with this map and with this mission in mind. Notably, we're looking at the map right now, and I just want to draw your attention to a couple of key features that are going to color my decision. First, these walls here are infinite height. There's a bunch of them all over the place. And so there's doors in them, there's some windows, there's some long fire lanes, and those long fire lanes will matter in the course of this game. But it also means that if you were hoping to try to get sort of broad, sweeping left-right arrow opportunities, you are going to have to work for it in order to make that happen. The second primary impact is that this mission is unmasking, which means that there isn't a lot in terms of how far forward you can deploy because of the exclusion zone. And hand in hand with that, I needed to defend my own people against getting assassinated during the unmasking, so that also colored my decisions. All of which is to say, the strategy that I'm adopting, the list that I have constructed, and the way that I've deployed is all colored based on the ability to have practiced on this map a couple of times and to have known exactly what mission and exactly what opponent I'm going to have. So let's get started. We did the lieutenant role, and I believe that the NCA player won and decided to go first. I chose the blue deployment zone because I felt that it had better access to defensible spots for my HVTs. I'll go ahead and circle my designated targets, rather. There's one right here that you can see. There's another one here that you can't see, and then there's another one over here again that you can't see. Those are mine. I thought these spots were better able to defend, especially this one right here and this one right here. I also felt like it had better able to look at the consoles, which are here, here, and here. If I had been starting on the red side, then I would have had these walls that were in the way, blocking some of my line of fire. Let's go ahead and look at deployment and armies. So because this is unmasking, let me first draw attention to the 3 designated targets. There's this guy over here, this guy over here, and this guy over here. That's where the NCA player has chosen to put them. I believe that this one is the real one, although I am not entirely sure. The game was a while ago. And let's go ahead and kind of look at what he's got. He has a Harris over here that I believe is in Group 2. He has a core of bolts over here that's in Group 1. There is, I believe, a Black Friar over here, and then he's got some stuff that's defending and supporting. So bot, this is an Auxilia, this is a Trauma Dock, I think this is a Flash Pulse bot way off in the distance. Stuff that's sort of supporting and defending, especially given that he knows that I'm Steel Phalanx and can make some assumptions about what I am likely to bring in that case. So let's first go ahead and zoom in on his core. You have a Bolt Sniper. I believe that was his reserve piece. You have a Bulleteer. That's great. You have a Bolt Hacker, I believe. And then I think these are 2 standard Bolt Lieutenant options. Also in this picture, you can kind of see the Black Friar that was over there that we couldn't see before. And we'll go ahead and look at his Group 2 Harris. You have another Bulleteer that is located right here, and then you have a Machinist that can join that Harris, and then you have a Bolt Hacker. And that kind of gives you this picture of his deployment. You have the Harris that's right here. You have the Core that's right here. You have this Black Friar over here. One thing that'll show up later in the game, it doesn't really have a strong impact, but it does show up, is I think there is a Hexa hidden deployment over there. And you've got the 3 designated targets he's defending right here, and right here. Okay, and here we have my army list. I'm Steel Phalanx, so I get Inomatarkos, and so I have deployed in what I have really thought a lot about through being able to practice on this map, not that many times, but a couple of times helps, in what I think is the correct defensive position if I have to go second. I was very specifically worried about having to go second and then having the consuls get pushed by the other guy's hacker and then having my guys get killed and being having nothing I can do about that. So on my left-hand side, I have a Inomatarkos here. This model Maximus I've scaled up to be used as Ajax. Then we have Machaon there, and then you just have 2 Myrmidons. Then I have another Inomatarkos, which is Group 2, which is over here. This is Alki and Thrakite. And then I have a forward-deploying Achilles that is right there. And this forward-deploying Achilles was one of the major choices that I made based on this map. He can forward-deploy, and more importantly, I can have him sit there and defend and absorb hits and use him as an aero piece. A little bit non-standard use of Achilles, but I felt like it was really necessary to have something out there if I'm going second. Likewise, I chose the forward-deploying Ajax over here. I would normally not pay 7 points for a forward-deploying Ajax, but I felt like I needed people as far forward as I could get in order to defend. Zooming in on this Inomatarkos a little bit, you have Alki over here, the NCO Spitfire profile. I like her a lot. This looks like Tusser, but it's actually a Thrakite with a Feuerbach. I had the points in the SWC, and there was a long arrow that he's staring down, and I figured the Feuerbach is so dangerous that if I happen to get lucky, then it'll be great. We'll see what that happens. You have a Thrakite with a light rocket launcher there. You have a Thrakite paramedic, and then I think a Thrakite FO deployed in this situation. So this is a 5-man Thrakite Inomatarkos. Only 4 of them can be in it at any given time, but I'm pretty sure that one of these guys that's on aero duty is going to get killed, and then I can reform the team and move them out. To comment on these guys, I really like them. My primary use for these Thrakites throughout the entirety of this tournament has been to put them in Group 2, to use the NCO order to move them into the midfield, and to just be a giant pain for the opponent to move through, because they've got the rocket launchers, which are really dangerous. They've got Armor 3, which is pretty good. They get a paramedic to heal them, and if they die, I wasn't really using them for anything other than stalling, and so that's what I've been using them for, and it's been working great. And here we have the other Inomatarkos. This is Machaon. I think I just have 2 bog standard chain rifle Myrmidons that are present. They are actually standing up because I figured that I can throw smoke against the inevitable Volunteer that's incoming, and I'm not too worried about the Bolt Sniper taking pot shots at my cheapo Myrmidons. It might happen, but I'd rather be able to defend against the Volunteer. And then we have a forward deploying Ajax that's right there, and Ajax is defending this and this designated targets. I paid a lot of points for this forward deploying Ajax just because I really need someone a little bit further forward, and I wouldn't normally do it, but I needed it in this case. The last thing that I want to comment on is that there is this window that the War Core can see through that will kind of be looking there, and that arrow actually, let's go ahead and look at it on like this picture, say, because it turns out to actually matter. It's shooting through this window, and it's covering this doorway. And that War Core will actually shoot a couple of things and stun them before his career is up. And here is a look at that Feuerbach Thrakite's arrow. Before we dive into anything else in the game, I did think a lot about whether to take Skilla. You'd think that she's a shoo-in, she's a good hacker, she has those repeater bots with the flamethrowers that are super dangerous, she has the ECM for hacking, and I tried her a lot, and I just found that it was very order-intensive to try to move her out, and she was very expensive, and she just wasn't quite performing at the level that I needed her to perform, considering how much she cost. I'd be interested to see if anyone has significant gameplay experience that's different from that for mine, but I did not take her because based on trying it out, she just wasn't working for me. So let's go ahead and start with NCA's turn 1. The very first thing that he does is he takes this core and he moves it out to here so that he can engage my Thrakite with a four-back from back here. And here is that line. I took this screenshot based on a later game state, so ignore the smoke and the bullet here that's over there. This is the line of the shot that's taken. There's a couple of things that you notice about that. First, it is a very clear line. Second, the NCA player does not have cover in this particular case. They are counting on the fact that it is going to be greater than 32 inches, and they're counting on the fact that it's going to be a bolt sniper with marksmanship and shooting on 19s or whatever, and all the things that bolt sniper does. The problem here is that I am disposable, and the bolt sniper is not disposable. And the second problem is that we are within 32 inches, so I'm actually in good range. So instead of being what he thought, which was going to be burst 3 on 19s versus burst 2 on 12s or 9s or whatever, it is instead burst 2 on 15s. And I have explosive ammo. And what happens is we first order the game, the bolt sniper moves out to take the shot, gets unlucky, loses the face-to-face, and dies. This is his only significant source of MSV in his list. It dissolves the core, and it is going to color the whole rest of the game. I had intended that this Thrakite link be something that bolt sniper was going to have to chew through, and I had hoped that I might get lucky and, hopefully kill it if I did. But having it happen on the first order of the game is something that was definitely fortunate for me, if not entirely unintended. Okay, so he has tried to take this guy out here and has died. The next question is, okay, what's he going to do? So I think what he then does is he's going to take these guys, the bulleteer that you can't quite see here, and this hacker, and reform them into a core, and they're going to go over this way. I think they're going to try to push that button, and then I think that the bulleteer is going to get slingshotted around to here to try to do some damage to my order pool using Group 1's orders. Meanwhile, this Harris is going to go this way. It's going to attempt to push that button right here on the console, and it is going to try to deal with Achilles, who's in a fairly commanding position. And here is where we end up. You'll notice that there's a couple of things that happen. First and foremost, this button did not get pushed. They didn't quite get far enough along in order to actually activate that console at this time. The second thing that happened is you'll notice the bulleteer got stunned. That's that friendly neighborhood war core. And the third thing that's worth noticing is that Achilles has been isolated and immobilized. If memory serves, Leomaris, the NCA player, spent a lot of orders trying to either wound Achilles or before finally moving the bulleteer in so that its repeater could be used to hack Achilles. Achilles got isolated, Achilles got immobilized, but Achilles is not my lieutenant. I knew what he was going to be doing. I knew he was going to be likely to die or get isolated, so he is doing his job so far by soaking up orders. And he has prevented the console from being pressed. I was less good on the other side. The NCA player has managed to push. This console has dropped an EM mine with this bolt hacker and has slingshotted the bulleteer around to see this situation. Ajax has 2 wounds on him. I believe that the bulleteer shot him twice and did 2 wounds or something. It was kind of unlucky. I'm not going to get too bent out of shape about luck here, though, because remember what happened to the bolt sniper. And as you can see, I managed to get some smoke down in this case. And then also, he had revealed this designated target. It was not the real one. It was a decoy, but he tried to take some shots on anyway. And I believe I either passed the dodge or tanked the armor saves or something, and have thus gotten that guy into a better defensive position. I think the other thing that's worth noting is that at this point, I believe the only damage that the NCA player has done to my order pool is he kills a net rod or something. And I think the other thing that's important to note is that the core has been thoroughly dissolved. There's no way that the NCA player is going to really be able to reform a core to get even a burst bonus at this point. Okay, so let's talk about my turn. This is my turn 1. This picture is actually taken at the end of his turn 1, so you have to imagine that this smoke isn't going to be there at the start of my turn, and naturally I took this so that I could get the long-range line of fire here that took out the bolt sniper, but it's a good picture to try to tell what's going to happen. You'll notice that there's this bulleteer that's sitting there, and it's looking at everything, and I think he even put it into suppressive fire or something. So this is not great for me. You've got this Myrmidon, you've got this Myrmidon, you've got McCann, and you've got a wounded Ajax. And at this point, I've got to make a decision about what to do. So what I decide to do is I decide to say, look, Ajax, you've got lots of armor. The other guy's in suppressive fire. You're probably going to be fine. So I activate the Enomatarchos with a Myrmidon, walk the Myrmidon forward in this direction so I can chain rifle the Bulleteer. The Bulleteer shoots Ajax unopposed, and Ajax dies. Not great luck at this point. However, it does mean that I have been able to take out the Bulleteer. So then I take the now 3-man Enomatarchos. I'm going to send it this way. My goal is to push this button, kill the hacker that's still hanging out there, and then set up to be a pain on this front to be able to defend this designated target who has been revealed here. Meanwhile, I'm going to take this Enomatarchos. I'm going to move it forward, and my goal is going to be to attack this Bulleteer, to take that out, to kill anything else in this Harris that I can over there, and then set up in an annoying defensive position. So there is a partial success that happens over here. What happens is I move my Enomatarchos up. I really mismanaged these guys when trying to get into melee in a lot of ways, and thus ended up not really being in a great position as far as my deployment and where the fire team marker was, but I still managed to kill the hacker and set these guys up in an okay position. Here you have another view on that same position at the end of the turn. I killed the hacker that was previously right here, and we are set up to try to repulse what's coming. And then I am going to take my Enomatarchos up. I am going to shoot a couple of things that I can. I believe I take out this Bulleteer here, and I take out this hacker here, and I end up in a honestly not great defensive position. This guy doesn't have any cover, for example, but that's as far as I could get them on the orders that they had. If memory serves, it took an extra order to shoot something over here or whatever. And I really wanted to have this guy watching that lane so that we can have something else going on here. Okay, so we now start the turn 2 for the NCA player. And the principal thing that he's going to do that I recall here is he's going to take this Blackfriar. This is the multi-rifle, albedo, I think MSV2 drop bears guy. And he's going to try to take that guy, and he's going to try to march through my dudes and then around here and kill my designated target. A couple of things that are worth noting. I have 2 Myrmidons in the way. We're probably in chain rifle range, and you'd think that that would mean that I'm pretty favored in this case. I also note, though, that Achilles is here, and he can see pretty much the whole thing. He is isolated and immobilized. He is resetting on a 3, but I'm going to get a bunch of those, and if any single one of them works out, it's a really big advantage for me to have that happen. So here comes the Blackfriar, and he shows up over here. I'm given a choice to chain rifle him or something like that, and he's throwing drop bears down so that it can hit multiple guys. And I decide that I'm going to be cagey, and instead of chain rifling him, I'm going to try to dodge, because I have it in my head that a multi-rifle is not that dangerous, and that I really don't want to get hit by the drop bear that gets thrown. Ultimately, that's not a great thing to do. They both die. They both don't fail to stop this attack. And basically what happens is this guy is able to continue walking, and he gets all the way up to be very close to my designated target. Fortunately, my designated target is able to dodge, and McCallan is able to throw down Eclipse Smoke, and so at the last second, this guy is not able to accomplish his mission. Here's the situation after the Blackfriar has made his run. I've lost my Myrmidons and that sort of thing, but we can notice off in the distance that Achilles does not have his isolated and immobilized markers, and that's because he was able to reset somewhere along the Blackfriar's run. Here we can see McCaon and the designated target both happy and healthy and not dead, and the Blackfriar is nowhere to be seen. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, the machinist was moving forward, attempting to push the button, and probably if he was able to do that, he was going to try to fix the bulleteer, but he did not get lucky. He got stunned by that war core, which prevented another button push, which yet continues to slow down the game for the NCA player. And so this is more or less the position on that side of the board at the end of the turn. The last thing that's important to note is that there is this Hexa that appeared. I don't think the Hexa really did much during the game, but it was something that showed up that had to be dealt with. So here's more or less my board state at the start of my turn 2. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to take this Innovatarkos, run it up here to push the button to reveal one of the HVTs. I think I'm going to reveal the one that's sort of hidden over here, or maybe right here. And I'm also going to try to deal with this machinist, because it's being a pain, and this Hexa. I'm in sort of a weird spot at this juncture. I've lost a lot of my orders out of Group 1, and so I'm left with basically Achilles and Machaon in Group 1, and Group 2 is the intact fire team, and so they're actually going to be doing a lot of the work, even though that's not exactly what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be the sacrificial ones. And here's a look at what happens afterwards. More or less what has happened here is we moved the team up, we pushed the button here, we took out the Hexa over yonder. And if you look at it from this perspective, we can see that this HVT is no longer there. That's because Alki basically peeked out through this lane and gunned him down. And last but not least, we've taken Achilles, who at this juncture, I think he wounded someone in ARO or something, so he's frenzied at this point. But he is now sitting down here, and he is in a defensive position, just daring the bolts to come in and try to do something with him. Lastly, we really were trying to kill that machinist, but it just didn't happen. Instead, I've got my Innovatarkos wandered over there, staring right down at him. We tried to nanopulsar him. We've got him locked down on ARO-ish, but we didn't kill him, and we're out of command token, so I can't even reform the link in a fashion that I think is constructive. So this is not great for me. But it is turn 3 for the NCA player, and they don't have a lot going on here in order to help them out. So what he's going to do is he's going to take these guys, he's going to run them right up here. Maybe one of these is a specialist, I don't exactly remember. And then there is a designated target right here that he's going to try to kill, and he's going to try to do as much damage as he can, and he's going to try to push that button and do all that. And you can see here that he was, sort of largely successful. He was able to push the button. He was able to eliminate Alki. There was a Thrakite here that's been taken out. So that has worked out pretty well. The part that worked out less well is the fact that this decoy designated target isn't dead. The bolt came around the corner, was intending to gun that down or kill that guy or something, and it didn't get a kill. Meanwhile, the situation over here has progressed a little bit. It looks like the machinist tried to run around and shoot at the designated target, probably didn't fail, and then was nanopulsared into unconsciousness by the Thrakite. And that begins the start of my third turn. This is the last turn. I have gotten a little bit lucky here at a couple of occasions, most notably by the fact that this decoy target isn't dead. The flip side of that, though, is that it's not the real guy. The real guy is over here, and so what that means is that even if that guy had died, I'm still ahead in terms of killed designated targets, and I'll have the whole turn to flip some consoles and see what I can do. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I need to push a button so that I can identify the data trackers, or designated targets. So I'm going to take Machaon over here, and I'm going to push that button, and I'm going to reveal the designated target that's way over there. So I do that, and then my plan is to take this Thrakite with his Feuerbach and other gun, and he's going to run out here. He's going to flank the designated target that is over here. You still can't really see him, that's been revealed. He's going to gun him down using only Group 2 orders. At least that's what the plan is. However, as you could probably guess by the unconscious marker next to him, it doesn't work out. He ends up missing the first time, and the guy dodges, so that I have to expose myself to some arrows from guys with guns, and he ends up getting knocked unconscious, and he doesn't take out that designated target. It isn't the real one, so there's that, but it does mean that I'm now down, and I haven't taken out the designated target that I was hoping for. So this is the last stretch then. I have to use my Group 1 orders, and at this point I know that this is the designated target that was hiding here is the real one, and this is where, actually, in recording this battle report, I realized that Leomaris and I made a mistake. What I do is I take Machaon, and I run him all the way over here, and I push that button to reveal this designated target. The problem is, I've already activated this console. I can't activate this one again. I need to go to the console that's over there if I want to reveal another designated target. And I've forgotten this. We both forget it in the moment. These things happen. So I am able to push that. I am able to reveal that guy, and then I'm able to take Achilles, and I run to there, and I kill the actual designated target, and that settles the game. Accidental illegal play, I think, but it's what happens in this case. Now, I do think that it wasn't too bad in the grand scheme of things. I probably could have taken Achilles and gone and killed the other designated target, perhaps. And in any event, I still have more consoles. I still have more designated target kills overall. So I don't know how much this would have affected the actual scoring of the game, but it is worth noting that this was a bit of a mistake. Okay, so that brings us to the conclusion of our game. This was Unmasking. It was actually a fairly close quarters and bloody affair, but it ended up with a Steel Phalanx victory, both because of a bit of a rules blunder that I'm only now realizing in our recording, but it was still pretty favored for Steel Phalanx afterwards, even if we had done it right. So as always, at this point, I kind of want to think about what lessons there are to learn from this game about what you can do in terms of your play. The first things first is that Steel Phalanx has a really hard time projecting power into the midfield. I mean, we just don't get that much in the way of infiltrators. You get basically no marker state. I mean, it's just Patroclus, and that doesn't even really count. So if what you're trying to do is you're trying to stall your opponent from being able to seize the midfield and then, complete a bunch of mission objectives early game, if that's what you're trying to do, you have to be able to stop them somehow. And one tool that I like to use is the Thorakite link in Group 2, but if you need more than that, I found that Achilles worked really, really well. You forward deploy in a commanding position that can't be seen from a great distance, and people seem to zero in on him as the lieutenant. They throw tons of resources into taking him out, and he just soaks up orders, and then you can actually do your actual thing with your actual turn. So that's one lesson. The second lesson here, and Leomaris and I talked about this a lot after the game, is whether it was a good idea to have that gunfight with that Thorakite with the Feuerbach. I'm pretty much in agreement with Leomaris' assessment, which is that his play was the right move, in the sense that he would have to take that gunfight at some point, and losing the face-to-face in the way that he did was fairly unlikely in the grand scheme of things. So you can waste orders trying to maneuver around this hard point, or you can just kind of give it a shot. And if you win, then you're at a big advantage. I agree with that sentiment. However, I think that when you're dealing with an extremely risky arrow, you really got to think, how can I stack the deck to my favor as best as I can in as few orders as I can before I take that shot? It turned out that taking a shot at good range for the Feuerbach without cover was going to cost him his sniper and really slow him down for the rest of the game. The third thing that I think is worth bringing up for me is that I, really, while I found this list to be effective in this particular context, I need to be more careful with how I use my Anomatarchos. I sacrificed the Myrmidon Anomatarchos, which meant that Group 1 was unbalanced. It didn't have enough orders. So my Group 2 Anomatarchos was spending tons of needed more orders, and my Group 1 Anomatarchos was dead. So I need to be better about that. Anyway, this was the game. It was a really enjoyable game. Like I said, it was a while ago, so the exact details have sort of faded with time, but hopefully this battle report is interesting to you and has provided you with some insight into the game. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will catch you next time.